Are they going to be able to kill Captain Traore? When I see the crowds outside his presidential headquarters saying you'll have to kill us first, I'm filled with joy and pride at that. How do you think the rest of Africa feels about that?
So I love the fact that the crowd gathered around his place and they say, no, you have to kill us before you kill him. But that's not even the protection that Ibrahim has. Okay, that's a good one. And I love it because in the last few weeks, I have been getting some information from sources I trust that a lot of Africans have been trooping into Burkina Faso, asking to be shown what to do to be able to stand and fight alongside Ibrahim Traore. So Burkina Faso is no longer a Sahelian thing. It's not an African revolution movement. That's what you see going on there. But here's why I believe they are not going to succeed this time with Ibrahim Traore. I was explaining this to a South African news network a few days ago. I said, you see, no matter how you feel about your Africanness, we have already been crippled from the start. We are starting from a place of weakness on a race for life. Everybody is about to run, but we are crippled. We're running with one leg, one foot, and the rest of the people have their pair on the mark, ready to go. And then you give a gunshot and we start running on one foot and the rest are running on the pair. This is what has happened to Africa all along. And I've been saying to people that as much as we want to feel so good about ourselves, as much as it makes for a really good sensual indulgence to think that, yeah, we can stand on our own, you really can't. We need a superpower that can say, I am going to align with you guys. Okay, I really have some sort of enmity between me and your real enemy, which is the colonial powers. And if I can align with you, I can help you to decouple from the colonial powers. That has been my prayer for so many years, George. And that happened recently between Russia and the West, because the West kept going to Russia. You remember, of course, I've seen your show and I've talked about this for so many years about what happened between Russia and Ukraine, how that so many people are ignorant of what really went down, how that you told someone, I am not going to move 1 inch east, and then all of a sudden you've taken almost all the countries that were there that belong to that east. And now you expect the guy to be happy when you have come now right to his border. And then you think he's going to be okay. So when Russia saw all of that, Russia already knew and knows that the biggest thing the worst thing you can ever do to the colonial West is to take away the feeding bottle of the Africans, of African wealth from their mouth. And so Russia decided, you know what, maybe this is just time for me to start helping these guys to decouple from the colonial West. And that's exactly what happened. France has been getting our African countries. George, if you have time, I'll tell you this now. There was a news article that came out in 2017 by a German newspaper. According to that news article, they gained access to an information which they published verbatim about 440 billion euros, or maybe 500, was being paid to France every single year by African countries. I'm talking 14 French colonies in Africa. 14 colonies paying this to France every single year. And that's why Jacques Chirac, the former president of France, said, and I quote, he said, we have to be honest and acknowledge that the big part of the money in our banks comes precisely from the exploitation of the African continent. And in 2008, he followed it up with this. He said, without Africa, France will slide down in the rank of a third world power. This is buttressing the fact that without Africa, the colonial West is going to be in a big mess, especially France, which I regard as the worst of all the colonial powers in the world. So when Russia showed up, guess where it started from? It was from the Sahel, one of the French colonies, and that was Mali. And then after Mali, it was Burkina Faso. And then after Burkina Faso, it was Niger. And now let me break it down to the level people can understand. Let me tell you what really happened. So as these things are happening, Russia is providing logistics to make all this transformation happen. The true independence we're having in Africa today is all in the Sahel. And after that, Russia now goes into a security agreement with them. And when you come into a security pact or agreement with Russia, it simply means that when you get attacked, Russia is going to have to do something about that. So whoever is coming to attack you must take into cognizance the fact that Russia is on ground. And so you are attacking them, you are also attacking Russia. And Russia will bring their full military might in response to whatever attack you mete out to these countries. In 2000, between 2023 and 2024, Russia sent about 100 boots on ground after sending a bunch of military weapons, hardware, and stuff like that to Burkina Faso. And guess what? When the Kursk incursion, which I call Ukrainian misadventure, that was meant to distract Russia from its mission in Africa, when that happened, Russia had to cut down on the number of troops that were in Burkina Faso and quickly send them to Kursk. And which means that whatever the West did through Ukraine worked by distracting Russia. So they took some of the guys to Kursk to go and fight alongside the North Koreans and the other guys who were fighting to rescue that country and at the or that region. So at the end of the day, they have now fewer troops, Russian troops on ground that are there to protect Ibrahim Traore. That is apart from the guys that are very close to him in his protection. Guess what? At the end of the day, the mission of this troop, 100 troops that Russia sent, was not only just to provide security from terrorism in the country. They were also meant to train the Burkinabe soldiers. So thankfully, a lot of soldiers have been trained in intelligence, in counterintelligence or counterinsurgency and all kinds of stuff. And those ones were able to work with the little contingent that Russia had on ground to be able to foil all the many numerous assassination attempts that I'm pretty sure you must have heard of, George, against this young man.
Sure.
In the past, this kind of thing never goes on. There's no way you will be an Ibrahim Traore in the 1960s and 70s and 80s and you will still be alive by this time. It is because the game is now being played differently. And so being able to catch him and kill him is going to be an uphill task for the colonial powers that be today.